meeting. Let me go ahead and do a call to order. This is the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting, September 17th, 2024. I'm going to do a quick call to order. I see we have a quorum here. So if I may, Jim Glock. Present. Lou Spetnagel.
Present.
Greg Stoner.
Present.
Present. Rick McDonald present. So we have a quorum and we can begin the regular agenda. First off, have you guys had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Okay. Anybody want a motion to approve?
All right, Rick.
Hey, Jim, you're kind of now your audio is kind of sketchy.
Well, I was talking over you. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. I'll approve the minutes of August 20th, 2024. Move to approve. Excuse me.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Lou seconds. And any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's the end of that. Sorry, I'm still acting secretary. All right, Maria, are you aware of any calls of the audience?
No, Mr. Chair, Michael Taku didn't report any individual wanting to speak today.
All right, no call of the audience. So that moves us into the regular business reviews. Wade, I see you there. Are you representing one of the reviews today?
Yes, sir. I'm representing the Aggie House, item 4A.
Okay. Are we waiting on anybody else, or is it just going to be you tonight?
No.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's go ahead then with the review. 4A, 819 North Euclid Avenue, SDE 0824-00073, which is a code violation that I know you guys are coming back to post facto ask permission for. So if you want to go ahead, do you have material you want to present? I know you've given us material to look at, but how do you want to proceed?
So.
And Wade, I made you co-host, so you're able to share your screen.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it looks like.
Pardon, because I am taking administrative notes here. Your last name is?
Accomazzo, ACCOMAZZO.
BVO?
ZZ as in zebra. Oh, Accomazzo.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So yes, it looks like Michael has uploaded, I don't know, 10 different PDFs or whatever that I'd sent over a few more. He asked for before and after pictures of the all four sides, and it looks like on here he's got the north side before and after and the south side before and after. But I've never done this process before, so I'm going through it for the first time. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, sorry, Rick. I've tried to parse through the material that was sent, and it's the narrative is very lengthy, and if there were bullet points as what specifically is being asked of the WUZAP board tonight, there was obviously a code violation. Let me finish my observation, and then you can set me straight. So if it's if there was a roof put on that we didn't get an opportunity, if there are windows put in, if you could very, very specifically and pretend like you hadn't done it before, and just go through what you would like to do, and then we will comment on that. If I could focus your energy on that, Wade. I'm sorry to interrupt, and other fellow board members use my interruption, but I looked at this and I couldn't quite figure out what our charge was tonight. So I'll mute myself at this point. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be happy. Happy to explain. Just to give you a little background, it was in December of 22. They had some significant roof leaks that were in the house. So we hired a roofer to come in and take a look at it, just to repair the roof leaks. And as he started to pull back, the material, we found, some rotted wood, rotted eaves and everything. And when it came down to it, he essentially said, we can put a lipstick on this pig, or we can actually do it right. Well, at that point in time, we were kind of pot committed. And so what essentially was, or initially was to fix a roof leak became a little bit more of an extensive, program, because we couldn't just, partial. So essentially from the roof portion of it, was we removed all of the existing, roll tile, I guess what it was. I mean, it was a gray, roll, wasn't shingles. So that came off, but in the process, we removed all of the eaves and the fascia board, the T111 around the upstairs, and put all brand new wood on it, for the overhang, so that when we put the new roof tile, we ultimately ended up putting the new roof tile on it, we weren't putting it on the old wood. So in that process, when it was all said and done, there were no structural issues with the roof whatsoever. We did not change the architecture, the elevation. All it was remove and replace what the existing wood was in the exactly the way that it was. The only difference that we had for in the actual appearance of the house is that, because it was all brand new wood, we took the opportunity to stain it rather than paint it white. So the look of it is different, but the actual elevations and architecture, nothing has changed. In the process, in repairing all of that wood, we had somewhat of an eyesore, because now we have stained wood up top. And the windows that were in the house as well, nothing's changed on the actual windows as far as the openings. It's all brick, all of the same. Brick was nothing was changed on that aspect of it. But they had wood frames that had been there for decades, and painted over, and probably had a 1/4 inch worth of paint on them that we really couldn't stain, or we couldn't paint brown to make it look the same. So we removed the windows and redid the wood all the way around the windows exactly the way it was prior, and then put the windows, put the windows back in. And in a part, it was just to make it airtight, but also to make it match the rest of the house with the roof that we did above. So that's that's kind of the narrative. Where we got into this, as far as a violation, was my own naivete. Then realized we had to go through, what started off as a roof leak fix. I didn't realize we had to go through a review through the historical commission, society, I mean, whatever this is, in the process. So they gave us a violation. Nothing, nothing that we had done required an actual building permit. But we didn't go through this process, which didn't allow us to, get the permit. So, currently, we have a violation, going through the procedures and everything of doing it, in some cases, didn't do it the correct way. So I'm not necessarily, begging for forgiveness, but, when you see the pictures and I can explain, exactly what we did, you'll see that the actual character in the house and everything looks significantly better than, what it did prior. And was an addition. We didn't do, like I said, we didn't do anything to change the architectural structure, of the house, the look, the elevations. And really all I can do, from here on out is just show, some of the pictures that we have, up, and that can kind of explain it a little bit better. And if there's any questions you have in the meantime, before we look at that, I'll be happy to answer whatever I can.
Well, why don't we kind of break it down a little bit? So since we were talking about the windows, if you could pull up the picture of it is today, one of the pictures of one of the elevations. Doesn't matter if it was the before or the after.
Would you, so we can do the whole side of the house, or we can do an individual window. The individual window, let's start with that, and I can show you what the before picture is and what it looks like afterwards. So can I click on that? I guess, I don't know.
Sure.
I'm not tech savvy. Can you guys see my screen?
No, cannot.
Um,
So I know, Maria, you made him the host,
Co-host.
co-host.
how do sorry, I'm trying to, okay, share screen. Here we go.
Gotcha. Single window.
Single window right there. You can
Yeah.
see, I mean, it's a typical window, but you have, you know, just old rotted wood all the way around the outside of the window.
Mhm.
You can go to the window after, and that's what they look like now.
So if I think of the windows, you just stay on this one for just a moment. You've got
Yes, sir.
a window opening
Mhm.
with the brick mold around
Yeah.
the two sashes. These are double hung windows, or well, I don't know if they're double hung or single hung, but two sashes. And you're sorry about my dogs. Excuse me. Your narrative had said something about the windows having been replaced in the 2000s.
So at some point in time, this is long before I was done, these windows, the white portion of it, you know, were replaced. We removed them, and then we redid all of the wood around the window and put the same exact type of window back in. So if, you know, if I just click back, you'll see it's the same single hung, you know, sliding up, you know, window. It was just in an old wood casing. Whereas in, you know, this, it's the same single hung window, but in a brand new wood casing that's stained. So you can even, I don't know if you can see the detail, but just where my, you know, where my arrow pointer is, you know, just the reveals in the wood. These things were essentially custom done, and they were made to look exactly the way they were prior.
Yep.
So,
I
but
see
the
that.
openings of the hole and the elevation of the building, none of that changed whatsoever.
So the windows themselves, the individual sashes, are those the ones that were there before, or did you put new ones in?
We took the opportunity to put new ones in, but they were the exact same. I mean, basically the exact same style.
Style, okay. And the material of the sashes is what?
The material of the white portion of it, they're vinyl.
Vinyl. And what were they before?
Vinyl. Now, what they were prior to 1980, 1990, that I don't know.
Mhm.
I just know what they were, you know, when we replaced them. So I don't know if 25 years ago they went through this process or not. I have no clue.
Well,
I
I can tell you
replaced
yes,
them.
no, because they wouldn't have been allowed to do that.
Okay. Well, I understand.
Okay, so these are probably double pane windows, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Vinyl. Is it vinyl or is it a composite, or, you know, I have to be kind of persnickety.
They're vinyl.
They're vinyl.
They're vinyl. They're vinyl inside the wood casing. Yes.
Okay.
This house is used as a dormitory for college students. So I won't be naive and say that windows don't occasionally get broken. So there is some conscientiousness about the cost and the actual replacement of it when you've got 18 to 21-year-old men living there.
Okay.
So those are the windows. Yeah, I learned after the fact that, yeah, vinyl is not the,
Right.
the window of choice.
Go ahead, Jim. I saw
So-
your hand up.
Wade, I'll tell you, we frown upon vinyl in our neighborhood. We have just started accepting aluminum clad wood as an acceptable alternative. Our goal is, and I'll make this very brief. Our goal is to stay as historically accurate as possible. And we understand that Tucson is hard. Tucson's climate is hard on stuff, so that's why we accepted aluminum clad, but then wood interior. I don't suppose by some weird quirk that the interior of your vinyl windows happen to be wood.
No,
No, it would
the
not.
inside of the window,
Correct.
the inside of the house, no.
Okay. Well, and then we have design guidelines on our website, and if you did anyone did any little bit of research, they would have found those and realized that this was not an acceptable alternative, even replacing something that had been there before. So that's my lecture. I have an idea to, I don't know, maybe work around. I don't think the rest of my board is going to accept it, but with that, I'm going to let the rest of the board comment. So thank you.
Lou, Greg, you have anything you want to bring up or add?
Well, yeah, I appreciate the effort that was put in when they replaced the brick mold and staining it and, trying to get, I don't know if the intention was getting back to a more historic look instead of just the painted white, but vinyl windows are one of my pet peeves too. And I see them around the neighborhood. I see them when people are flipping properties to make them into Airbnbs or student rentals. So in my mind, it reduces the historic value of the neighborhood. And as a homeowner, I feel impacted by that. So that's my 2 cents. I do appreciate the effort. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. And I also appreciate that, given that you didn't really have the opportunity to go through this process for, whatever reason, you may not have.
Whoever's speaking, I can't hear.
This is Richard. So to a little bit of additional thing on Greg's part and Jim's, vinyl is prohibited in our design guidelines because it is one of the materials that does not last in this environment. And there are other materials. Now, Jim mentioned aluminum clad. We found some composite materials that also, I think, were more durable than vinyl, but we remain in our guidelines against vinyl. And had you gone through the process, we could have saved you that we could have helped you with that discussion. Now, given that you've already done it, which I appreciate, the way we are tasked to operate by the city, by our code of operation, and Jim alluded to this earlier, is to sort of act as if you're coming and asking us for permission to do something that you haven't yet done, even though we know you have done it. And I can say that had you come and said, this is what I want to do, we would have said, love everything except you can't use vinyl. No. But everything else you're doing here is terrific. I want to get to the other things that you did, especially on the top.
Yeah, the
floor.
upper dormer,
Yeah, the upper dormer.
those windows.
Not just the windows, but the siding and everything else.
Mhm.
Just kind of walk through all that. But this particular material for the windows, and I'm glad you didn't do sliders. They're, single hung windows, but we'll get to the process here in a little bit after we go through the rest of it. But let's get through the whole effort, and then we'll swing back and tell you a little bit about what our motion will be. Okay. So
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So yeah, just continuing on. So So missing one. Here, I'll just go from here. So this is from the, I guess this would be the southwest corner of the house. And you can see, you know, just the white building, the white top around the outside, excuse me, the upper, you know, the upper deck. So, and then this next picture will be just this, what would be the south side, as far as what it looks like. So the eaves and everything, all exactly the same. The only thing that's different is they're brown.
So this is the after picture.
This is the after. This is the after that you're looking at. That was the before.
Okay. Okay.
So you can see even the little, over here on the left side, the little extension on the back end.
Oh, okay.
That's also.
So,
also
okay. Okay.
So from an exterior look, from what the house was prior to us, you know, to us doing this, when it's all said and done, I'm not trying to minimize it, but everything was replaced except for, to the exact look, except for the fact that it's brown instead of white. Whether it's the roof eaves up on top or all the way around the house, or the wood around the windows, it's brown instead of white.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything is exactly.
Yeah, generally speaking, we don't really get too concerned about color. You can always change colors. You can always change.
Yeah, no, and that's why I didn't think it was that big of an issue,
No,
because
it's not.
I mean, literally, it's a Tucson color. Nothing in the architecture of the house, you know, was any different. So if you drove by it, you know, a couple months after we started, it would look like we painted it brown instead of painting it white. That's the difference in the, you know, that's the difference in the appearance. We can go on to show you a picture of the north side of the house. That's the north side of the house. So you can see the upstairs, you know, rather than being white, it's.
Right. So I think you've got some pictures that maybe show a little bit more detail before and after of the third floor.
As far as the roof, yeah, you know, he didn't. I'm gonna have to go into some pictures that aren't on the agenda, because he's got 10 of them on there. Is that okay if I go to different
yeah.
pictures?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, so this was a picture of the roof before. So this is just the T111 here on the right side. This was the roll and stick, gray, you know, roofing material.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then this is what the roof looks like afterwards. This is the very, very top of the roof, but it's the same roofing tile. It's just a Owens Corning brown desert tan shingled roof, which is virtually the same color as the building right next door. Now, granted, that's not a historic building, but you know, it's typical of the neighborhood, just you know, pick and steel or peel and stick roof shingles. So that's what those look like. Here, let's go the east side before. This is the east side of the house from the street level. I mean, you can see just the wood and how it's all, you know, just kind of dilapidated there.
Right.
And then And if we go to the east side after, that's what it looks like now.
So on the, can you go back to the previous picture for just a second?
Yes, sir.
I can't tell from the picture. Was there a door on the, there must have been a door to the balcony. You didn't change the opening for the door on the second?
No, so right where my arrow is, there's a door that goes into one of the rooms. There's a door right behind this cowboy head
Mhm.
that windows on either side, the little side light windows got kicked out or got broken, so they just patched them with wood at the time. And then after the fact, we, you know, the same door opening, you can see just by the same, you know, brick and everything above the top. We just, you know, it's all, you know, just put back the same. So.
Okay. And the windows on the top, so the addition on the top, if you go back to the previous picture. You know, you can kind of tell looking at it, those are probably, I would guess, steel casement windows.
Those windows up there were probably there for, yeah, 50, 60 years. I don't know.
Right.
They're steel cased, but they were all rotted out. But the grid pattern, I think it was a 3x4 grid pattern. You know, they were replaced with the same grid pattern. Obviously vinyl windows,
But now, if you go to the next picture, you say it's the same grid pattern, but all I can tell looking at it is you've got sliders up there now.
yeah, there's sliders side by side there. I think they're 4x6, but you got the grid pattern in like I said, they're not exactly the same windows, but they're the same look as far as with the grid.
I'm gonna hold off for a second. Jim or Lou or Greg, do you have anything to say about those windows up there?
Just the fact that they are the sliders, so they did change the functional intent of the windows up there.
Yeah, looking at the before picture, it looks to be a 4x4 grid. And yeah, it looks to be a, I don't remember the term for the swing out, like the left and right side swung out. And the center
Casement.
two were fixed, so just a casement, yeah.
They were fixed, and those are casements or whatever on the side, which when we look for new windows like that, there wasn't an option for a two side light casement with a stationary middle. So it was either a slider or a solid window. We need to have, this used to be used years ago as a sleeping porch. It used to be all just, you know, netting and everything up there. They enclosed it, I don't know, it was the 60s or 70s, but we used to have 30 something guys sleeping up top in barracks style bunks. So. But as far as the thing is,
the sliders that you have now are kind of like the windows on the bottom two floors, they're vinyl.
yes,
Yeah. Okay. And then otherwise, kind of, if we stay on this picture for a moment, we talked about the roof a little bit. All the siding on the third floor that is tongue groove that's been stained. Is that right?
so it's T111, so they're
Oh, yeah, okay.
so they're, you know, 4x8 or whatever that stand upright.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay. All right.
Went
Okay.
from screened in summer sleeping area up on the roof to somewhere, God knows when, in the 50s. But I bet if we looked at, I didn't see in your application, and that's my bad, the historic register photo that may have shown this third story addition, which I have a sense that was added when,
It wasn't added. It was always there. The issue was it was used for 60,
Yeah,
70 years as
okay.
sleeping porch.
Sure.
It
No,
may have
okay.
been, it may have been
Enough said.
enclosed, but
Thank you. Yep. Now I understand. I'm familiar with sleeping porches. I had one in my house when I moved in. So,
okay.
and then yeah, and casement windows were as refrigeration and swamp cooling became prevalent, was a way that people typically use to enclose spaces as opposed to screens. And then at some point, and criminy, it may not have been involved with what you guys just did recently, but now we're getting to observe it. So sadly, it's falling on your lap. That we're seeing a vinyl casement window put up there. Um, it's it just is a little inappropriate, but at the same time, I don't know. Ask my other historically more astute folks. Things change as they move. We're not asking them to go back to screens. What do you do to go from screens to modern sealed in space? So with that, I think I'll sign out and let the rest of my board members. I wish our architects were able to attend tonight. They'd have some wisdom that could probably add something. So for the rest of you with a design acumen better than mine, please weigh in.
Right, I'll weigh in. It's kind of, so there's two problems I have with the windows on the top. One is that the lights, the grid, what you call the grid pattern, the lights of the windows appear from looking at the reflections to be the kind of thing that's in between the two panes of glass. And it doesn't actually look from the street. It doesn't mimic what the original look was, which was, actual individual lights, right? It's a very, I appreciate your comment earlier about given the use of the building, we'll be careful what costs because windows get broken, but this is exactly, unfortunately, the kind of look, and vinyl sliders in particular are another thing called out by the guidelines that we do not approve, that we would have said no to. If you had found even, I know you probably couldn't stand to have fixed non-functioning windows up there, but if you had found non-functioning windows that just had a grid that was proud of the glass, so that from the street you couldn't tell the difference, that might have been something to think about. But unfortunately, in this being the street-facing part of it, and that it's explicitly said it's not permitted in the guidelines, I think we're going to struggle with a little bit. So, discussion amongst the board, and Wade, for your benefit too, I do appreciate all the stuff you've done for the house. I think it's unfortunate that we couldn't have had this conversation before you started, because I think we could have given you a few little pointers in a different direction, but it doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah, it was a animal that created itself just as we started with the roof.
I will start by saying, for your benefit at the beginning, you are before the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board. We are not a final determination. The city of Tucson makes a final determination. We advise the city of Tucson. And after you go through us, you have to go through the Plans Review Subcommittee of the Tucson Pima County Historic Commission. That's not full. And they're going to give you the same. You're going to have the same conversation with them. And then we both advise the city. And Maria is here somewhere online representing the city in this meeting. We have leeway to accept certain things, but you've had a couple of things with these windows that are explicitly things we deny. And I think we're not going to have much choice, especially given how prominent this building is, but to say, with respect to the material choice for the windows, the sliders on the top, and the way the mullions on those sliders are interior, so they're not really, they don't even look like a historically appropriate window. We're probably going to have to say no on that. The rest of the work that you've done in the building is terrific. And I mean, as I said earlier, paint color, we don't really get into paint color, but it looks all around, other than that, it looks better. And I appreciate that the building was in disrepair and needed some of the TLC that you guys have done for that. That notwithstanding, if this board were to say, well, since you've done it, we'll just let it go, even though it's a clear violation, that establishes a problem for the whole rest of the neighborhood. I hope you can appreciate that.
No, I can appreciate that. It's, you know, like I said, it's, it's
have
after
the
the fact.
option, and I
And
will
I
ask
understand.
Maria to weigh in and kind of read you the rules going forward. Regardless of what we say, and what we say will be passed on to the Plans Review Subcommittee, and they'll make a determination, and that's also an advisory board of sorts. The city can say, not accept our advice. The city could accept it, and you have the right to appeal, and there is an appeals process. We don't have any involvement in that. I'll let Maria describe that for you. But I think this is going to break down to the roof that you did, the siding you did, the repair work you did to the eaves, all that, in my opinion. Now I'm just speaking as one member of the board. If you had shown that to me before you did the work, I would have said, that looks great. I'm okay with that. Unfortunately, if you'd shown me the windows and what you intended to do and the material choices and that sort of thing, I would have said, no, you can't do that. We would have given you some other advice, but that's kind of where my head's at. And I want to stop there for just a minute and give Greg, Lou, and Jim an opportunity to weigh in, because we're going to take a little vote here, and I'm only 1/4 of the vote. Jim, you're on mute.
I was composing my motion, and I'll toss one out there for discussion to the benefit of the rest of the board. So imagine Wade was coming in asking to do all this work. I would move that the following occur, and Rick, I wrote it down so I can email this to you later or whatever.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Anyway, I don't know how to do that while we're having a meeting.
That's okay.
But all windows should be aluminum. All windows should be wood or aluminum clad wood when you replace them, period. Okay. Casement windows on 3rd story need to be wood, aluminum clad wood, and match the existing historic metal casement windows with the mullions clearly visible from the street, period. All the roof work that is done and everything is and the suggested materials are acceptable, and we have no problem with them.
Okay.
Sorry, when my motion's much shorter in writing. When I started talking about it, it got lengthier. Sorry about that, Rick. So that's my motion. Wade, great work. As Rick said, you know, we're probably the ones that give the most rigorous review, and folks can, you know, I've seen them back down from our recommendations, and I've seen them add to them. So you've got a couple more steps to go. And I've seen the director totally turn around all the historic review comments. So with that, I'll mute myself.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Discussion?
No, I agree. Fundamentally, it's the windows on the upper component that are the most distressing because they didn't match it at all. I did take the opportunity to walk by it. And yeah, you can barely see the grid pattern from the street depending on the light of day.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Jim, I need you to send me an email with your motion, if you don't mind, text or whatever. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries.
Thank you, Wade. Good presentation.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, based off of your guys' motion, you're not going to approve everything based off of the windows.
So what we've done is we've said, we approve everything but the windows. So everything else you did great. But, you know, when we look at it, we have to break it down into the constituent parts of what you did. And the way Jim constructed the motion allows us to say, okay, all this other, we never have to see anything again with respect to the rest of the building. However, depending on how things play out with respect to the plans review subcommittee, the next group you would have to go to, and then with the city, if it has to come back to us again, then the only thing I'd want to look at is the windows. Yeah, that would be it. Everything else is fine. All right. And Maria, are you still on the phone somewhere?
I am,
Okay.
Mr.
Do you have
Chair.
anything you want to add for Wade's benefit on the process?
No, Wade, we'll get to you, but yeah, basically, Mr. McDonald is correct. The West University Historic Zone Advisory Board, it's advisory to the PDSD director. After this, it goes to the Plan Review Subcommittee of the Tucson-Pima Historic Advisory Board for their recommendation to the PDSD director. The code indicates the PDSD director has to take into consideration both the recommendations by the WUSAB and the PRS and issues a recommendation. We as staff strongly, recommend the applicant to work with us in meeting the requirements as recommended by the various historic boards, so it gets clean, right, to the PDSD director. If that's not possible, depending on the decision, anybody on any applicant is able to appeal the decision. I believe the neighborhood association will get notified as well. I believe the neighborhood association, if they're a party of record, they will be notified and they have the ability to also file an appeal. So that appeal is heard by the mayor and council, and who make the final decision. We can talk more in the office about it and walk you through the process and what your options may be.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about how this is playing out, but see where it goes from here. And I think that PRS meeting is probably, what, 2 weeks from now, Maria?
I'm not sure, Wade, did Michael give you a deadline, date for meeting with the PRS? I don't know if you're going in September or October.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not yet,
So
so I
this
guess
was-
we were waiting to see what the decision of the West
Yeah.
University Board was, and then you can decide, and then so let's send us an email to Michael Taku and I, and so we can set up a meeting and talk about it and see what steps you want to take moving forward.
Just one question observation. This is just my only need to say is because obviously some time walking around the neighborhood, and I see significant number of houses in the West University that still have some old old windows and have replaced them with vinyl windows, et cetera. And some houses, you know, have 3 or 4 different kinds of windows in the same house. Whether or not they are quote a historic house or not, they're still in the same, you know, they're still in the same development zone. So is there a difference between, you know, what's appropriate on one house and then the next door neighbor can have something else if they're not in, if the house hasn't been contributed to the historic society, I guess? How does that work? Just out of curiosity.
Generally speaking, there certainly are times when we are flexible on the design of non-contributing, especially new construction. However, there are certain things that we are not able to be flexible on, and materials in particular is one of them. So you know, you'll walk around and see windows. Now, and frankly, if people have put vinyl windows on homes, historic or not, in the historic zone, that's a violation, and the city can, as you are learning.
No, and I don't want to rat anybody out. I'm just trying to figure out just
No.
the, you know, process, because I mean, I just threw up a picture where you got, you know, a wood window with a vinyl with a completely separate type of window directly upstairs that's less than, you know, less than 1 block away. And then these are windows that are in the same alleyway as ours. So, you know, so I guess, you know, and this is a historic, you know, this is a historic house, you know,
Yeah,
as well.
and that honestly,
Yes.
That we wouldn't approve. Even if that window, if that's a historic building, I don't know the building, then sliders are just not allowed on historic buildings at all. Because they weren't there originally, right? There were no sliders back in the period of interest of this neighborhood back in the.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is an addition or whatever it is,
Right.
but it's, you know, so those are just some of the, you know, those are just some of the things that, you know, that, yeah. I know there's enforcement and you can't catch everything, but if somebody, you know, if somebody ends up with a broken window, they're gonna replace it with what they can as fast as they can, rather than go through a long process, depending on whether they can afford to or not. So, you know, at some point in time, you guys have a job to do, which I completely understand. You know, and the previous time that this house was done, they were all put in with those other windows outside of the 3rd story. And so nothing looks different than what it was prior to 25 years ago or whenever they did it, you know, last time. So, you know,
Yeah,
by
unfortunately, and I
going.
appreciate that it can be both frustrating and difficult to understand. If you had, I don't know, for example, if you had not touched the windows and just done all the other woodworking that you had done, even though we could plainly see those windows are non-conforming to our code, we'd probably say, okay, that gets grandfathered in. But once you start taking things out and putting something else in, we have to follow the guidelines in the code. And again, you can appeal this.
Yeah. Oh no, that's fine. Like I said,
Yeah.
you know, this is my first time through the process. This is
No, I
this is an
understand.
education thing for me, and you know, and in the you know process, I won't make that mistake again. Trust me. So, unfortunately, you know, it's a potentially an addition, you know, significant additional cost because there's
I know.
25 windows in, you know, that deal.
I
But
understand.
you know, so
I understand.
anyway.
And if it comes to it, where the city says, no, you have to replace them, which is a possible outcome, it has nothing to do with us, it's the city's decision, then I advise you to come back to this board and ask for what's called a courtesy review, and we can give you some advice on what to do that would get through the process. It doesn't have to be, there are things we can do to work with you. There's just certain things we can't work with you on. And if you have to go back and do this over
You
again.
guys have grant money to pay for
No,
this
we
stuff?
don't. I
Because,
wish we did. I wish-
I wish you did too, because somehow, I mean, we're gonna have to do a capital campaign to replace it, so that'll take a little bit of time.
Yeah,
So
okay,
we'll figure it out.
okay, all right,
All right, well, thank you.
yep, thank you,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
okay,
You guys still have a meeting to go, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump off.
all right, yep, we've got another item on the agenda.
Thanks, Wade.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom, I see you're there. Are you representing the next item? Oh, you're on mute. Tom, you're on mute. Tom, we can't hear you.
He's on his iPhone.
There we go.
There
Thank you.
go. Now
Sorry
we can hear you. Okay, so Tom, you're here
Just didn't
for
want any
8:45?
noise while you all were reviewing the other case.
Okay. So we're moving on to item 4B, 845 East University Boulevard, SD 0924-00087, new storefront configuration, and I assume, Tom, you're speaking to that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Over to you.
The architect who did the submittal, Gene Goldstein, is on an airplane right now. They changed his flights. The airlines changed his flights in the last day. Often happens these days. The development is in the HBC zone, the first 75 feet of the development from south to north. Most of the buildings are 90 feet. And through the years, as things changed after it was constructed and it was designed, it's not in your application, but it was designed of blessed memory by Phil Dinsmore of Architecture One. If any of you knew him, or I guess there are no architects today on the board.
No
They would
architects
know.
today, sorry.
Yeah. So it was designed, and through the years, after we built it, as things changed, we changed the buildings, went through two processes. Once the process we're involved in tonight, and also some walk-by processes where we added a window where there was bricks or that type of thing, or changed the door. And the most significant changes in the past were there were 4 storefronts where CVS is, and we changed those to that building to one tenant instead of 4 tenants. And then we did the large windows that are in that building now, and then put in the backing, we put historic photos of Tucson and the university and so on behind. And we eliminated 4 storefronts. That was the most significant. The other significant one, there were a few, was General Ben's, where we actually cut through the exterior walls to have service windows where the patio is. And then also over the patio, we put we placed steel structural members, if you will, and that type of thing that's there presently, and changed also the top patio. And the other significant one was cutting through the wall at the barbecue to actually have a service window that's kind of a rectangle, is a rectangle in shape.
Mhm.
So the background of this tenant, Payway couldn't do enough business after the pandemic. I think a lot of the people are working remote and so on that went there and just didn't have the traffic. So we let them out of the lease, and we were able to obtain a really significant tenant. There are going to be 2 in the state. One is already in Scottsdale, not in a mall or anything, in a building similar to this. They like architecture. They have a store, what I could consider the most historic retail street in the United States is Newbury Street in Boston. And they really liked what we did and how we built it and so on. And so they came and we were able to get them. There'll be 50 of these stores in the country, and there's 2 in the state of Arizona. So they are a dry goods company, so they sell clothes, and they need, you know, exposure. And so what we're changing is the left window in the presentation was 2 double doors, because Payway, when they first started, that's what they wanted. They wanted 3 doors in all, 2 double doors on the west, and the single door that we want to have remaining. And the use here, they need to see, people need to see their merchandise. And so we wanted that you couldn't see through the doors, number one. So we wanted to change that to the glass that's presently the material in the rest of that block from General Benz going west through CBS. The mullions would be the same color, same material. All the materials would be the same. And so they wouldn't have to build a platform, just make it cleaner. So you didn't look at a platform when you look in the window. We wanted to reduce the bricks in the center window, which are now about 12 or 14 inches down to
Can I
about,
interrupt you for just a second? Just
Yep.
process check. I know you're working on your iPhone right now.
right.
It would be very helpful to me if, while you're speaking, if we could look at the
So
drawings.
I am prepared to present the material that he has. I've got a second screen going. Maria, can you give me presentation rights, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Stand by.
Page
Okay, there you
11
go.
is a good spot for where he's at in his narrative.
Okay, let's see if I can get there. I think I got it. Let's see. I'm sharing. Can people see a screen that I'm
Yes.
now flipping through? And so this is now where I think if I could figure out a way to flip my screen, I don't think I can.
I don't.
Shoot.
Yeah, that's what I was addressing, right.
Let me try to share my screen.
I don't know how to flip this 90 degrees, so
I can share, Mr. Gog.
we could all turn our heads 90 degrees.
I have it available too if need be, plus a Google Maps street view of the current.
Okay,
If
I'm
needed.
happy to relinquish you guys to handle this.
And who was that? I'm sorry, that is willing to share the screen.
Maria.
Was that
Greg, I've
Greg?
got it.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay, I'll stand
Let
by.
me make you a co-host.
Okay, I'll I don't know what I need to do to stop, but other than that, I'll just turn my, there we go, stop share.
All right, so there we have the street view. And let me go back
There we
to
go.
the
Yeah,
document.
that view is very good to show the bricks in the middle window, you know, the present height. That was excellent.
And this is the one we want, and we want it rotated. One more should do it. There it is. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right,
Yes.
So
So I'll back up a little bit, for all the way if you want, but the west window on the left, that is 2 double doors today. And the center window is the center window, but the bricks, the red bricks come up a little bit higher from grade. And so we wanted to, you know, reduce that so we wouldn't have to build a platform. People would walk by and look at a wooden platform inside. And the rest of it's the same. And all the materials, the glass, the materials, the brick, color, everything is exactly the same as the rest of that block from General Benz going west to through CBS.
okay. So Greg, for my benefit, could you just go back to the photograph that you showed? Yep, thank you. Okay,
Oh,
perfect. So you're
geez.
gonna get rid of, well, you're gonna lower that red brick that's between the double doors and the single door and just make that all a big window.
Yeah, would have some brick, though. We want brick and also have the top bricks, go perpendicular like the rest of the block.
Mm-hmm.
So we're copying exactly what's there, but we are lowering it. Yes, exactly.
All right, and then Greg, if you could go back to the drawing. So, okay. So there'll be taller individual pane windows. On the other picture, it looked like there was like a,
The mullion going across.
yeah,
Yeah.
mullion going across, right?
Those
You're
two.
You're gonna get rid of the mullion.
Right.
Okay. Okay, and then it, kind of staying on this for a moment, you're not changing the roof, you're not changing the clear story windows up top. Brick is gonna be the same brick, the stucco is gonna be the same. Right,
Yeah.
So really all you're doing is changing these windows, getting rid of the doors and putting larger windows in.
Yeah, without a mullion going across and reducing the height of the brick.
Okay.
And on the right side, everything's the same.
Mhm.
On the east side, I should say east instead of right. East side, it's all the same.
Right. And the frames on the windows are steel?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the board?
Just one for me. Any thought to continuing the brick all the way along the bottom instead of having it one large window? Since you're having to put a window in anyways, I don't know, this would be more aesthetics and I'm not an architect, so just a thought.
Well, there wasn't thought. I mean, that doesn't mean there cannot be, but there wasn't thought because the retailer, wanted to be able, when you walk by, and that when I told, I wanted to keep the continuity on the center window. They would like it no brick, but they wanted people to be able to see the bottom of the form, when you and I walk by. And this, I should have mentioned, I apologize. This storefront is recessed from the rest of the building to the north. So when you walk by, like say Whoops and going east, you're right there. This storefront is recessed. You can see the shadow there.
Yeah.
Recessed back. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was just a thought and nothing more.
No, it's great. No.
Well, I mean, to that point, Tom,
I'm
why do the coarser bricks on the other two windows? Why not just make it consistent all the way across?
Well, I personally, I encourage them to keep the coarser bricks to keep the continuity of what we originally built. So I'm not saying that's rational, but I want to give you my authentic answer.
Go ahead, Jim.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, we'll hold that for just a second. Let's make sure we've got all the discussion here. I mean, I'm not hard over on it. I would just rather it be consistent all the way across, whether it's single course of bricks all the way across or not all the way across, but I'm not hung up on it. Lou, you haven't said anything? You got any comments?
I thought this one, just with the windows and the brick on there, I thought it actually lent a little bit more continuity to it. So that I like it as built.
As presented. Okay, all right. All right.
Again, in preface to my motion, I like the kind of the nod that there was once brick there, and that Tom's subsequent client, because he's going to be doing this for the next 20 years. I know, because he's someone who will live longer than me. And they're going to want to put bricks back up there. So he'll have that to argue why to go in that direction. Sorry, that's just a whimsical thought. I think that's great. I don't mind any of the ideas, but I would like to move that we accept the design is presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion. we have a-
Yeah,
Yes, go
Mr.
ahead,
Chair,
Maria.
I'm just a little bit confused. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the agenda. I see that it says here courtesy review. I'm not sure this is a courtesy review or a formal review.
Oh,
The-
shoot.
Oh, it does say courtesy review.
Yeah, this,
Never
this-
mind.
well, this was submitted as, I know, a formal review. That was what was intended by Gene Goldstein. And I thought Michael,
So thank you, Maria, for pointing that out. I am,
Okay,
Tom,
thank you.
looking, the agenda does say courtesy review. Is this what you intend to do? I mean,
yes,
because normally a courtesy review is, I'm thinking about doing this.
no, yeah, no, this is what we definitely intend to do. And on, larger projects, major projects, as I've been in front of USAB many years
I know.
before, you always had a courtesy review and so on, unless it was, something that wasn't that extensive. A lot of this type in the past, we did some walk-bys, but this was intended to be a, formal review, not courtesy.
So what I would
Well-
like to do,
And that's what I do recall as well, Mr. McDonald.
yeah, what I would like to do, Michael's not here, is proceed with the motion that Jim has made. Tom, Michael, if he says, well, you didn't give me the right material for a full review, then that's a different issue. But
Yeah,
from my point of view, we'll let the board vote here, but I think we're happy with what we see.
great.
The city has documentation requirements that maybe you haven't fulfilled yet, and that's why he made it a courtesy
Well,
review?
Michael actually reviewed, he actually reviewed the package and
Mhm.
got back to all of us, and I think Maria might have been copied too, but he got back to all of us and said he approved the package to be submitted. So actually, it was sent to him as a courtesy, so that if we need to make any changes to the package, we can make it immediately to the
Okay, well, I'm gonna
presentation.
work on the assumption that maybe we just got some communication crossed. And Jim, do you need to say something?
Yes, if I could, Mr. Chairman, Rick, let me amend my motion that we approve what is presented despite being a courtesy review as a full review, and everything is acceptable in accordance with our guidelines. And I'll send you a text of the motion shortly.
Okay.
But essentially, I'm hoping that the characterization of my motion and those present and recording otherwise can compel Michael not to have to send Tom back for a formal approval. So
Yeah.
stand by. It'll be a great motion. It'll cover all that. And so for the benefit of Lou, Rick, my motion is to accept the design as presented in a courtesy review environment as a full review acceptance.
Okay, I got it. We have a motion.
I second the motion.
Lou seconds. Any discussion further? No? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay. All right, Tom.
All right, appreciate it, Richard. Thank you.
Okay. You have a good
No.
night.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you all for the time. Appreciate it. Good night.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the design guidelines. I think you all heard me talking with Maria at the beginning. We left it in Jody's hands. Jody's not there anymore. It's got to go to PRS and, through city. I haven't talked to Michael since Jody left. Michael's not here either. So I think we just need to table this, and I'm going to talk to Michael I'll reach out to him and try and have just a conversation over what do we do next? Because the last time we met, again, Maria, for your benefit, the board approved the last few comments, so we're kind of done, and it needs to go to PRS. But I appreciate you weren't here. Actually, Michael wasn't even here for that meeting. That was Jody.
Mm.
But that's kind of where it goes. There's really nothing more for the board to discuss. It just needs to go to PRS.
Okay.
Okay. Staff updates. Over to you, Maria. Are there any things you need to bring up?
I don't have a list of projects scheduled
Okay.
for a next
Okay.
meeting, Mr. Chair. And again, I'm just temporarily part of the historic
Right.
preservation team, which basically is Michael Taku and I
Right.
at this point, and under the supervision of Daniel Bursuck, our planning administrator. Corin Manning is the acting PDST director.
Mhm.
Now, Christina Swallow now is assistant city manager. So I understand they're gonna be looking for a new historic preservation officer as soon as possible. I cannot tell you when that position will be filled. I know they're working hard, on finding another person. And I was just trying to explore with you, like, while the meeting was taking place, Michael Taku was having issues, some technical difficulties with the Armory Park History Board meeting. So I was trying to assist in the distance. So I was just trying to explore if there's any way to move this meeting. And I'm not sure if Michael's gonna ask the same to the Armory Park board tonight. But yours takes place on the same day as the Armory Park, except that yours is at 6, theirs is at 6:30.
Oh, yeah. We know. We've had many times when Jody has started our meetings and then had to check out to go to Armory Park and left it in Michael's hands. So I will explore with the board options for other days. I'm kind of reluctant to make it any earlier in the day because I suspect we can't support that. And I'm also reluctant to make it later in the day because I won't support that. But
yeah, and we want to give neighbors who want to join in, right, the opportunity to be able to do so. So I understand the time.
We have to say that the specific day of the week or the specific day of the month, we can have a discussion around. You can appreciate that I only have like half the board here, so I can't
Correct.
say anything other than we can do a survey. We can do, and see what flexibility everyone's got. I know, speaking only for myself, whether it was this day or the next day doesn't matter too much, but that's not necessarily true of everyone. So I'll do a survey and see when we can do the next meeting.
That would be great. Just make sure not to discuss amongst yourselves, because that would mean holding a meeting without notice, right? So,
I'm going to send an email to everyone on the board. So help me not get, in trouble here.
Correct.
I'm going to send an email to everyone and say, here's the situation. Please advise as to whether you're open to other days. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to word that yet, because I really don't want to turn this into this whole,
Understood.
So, Rick, let me caution you on that. I'm on 2 other boards, and every board has a different friggin' thing. So sorry, Maria, you've got to do it. You've got to send out. You've got to set out a doodle poll. Do you know how to do a doodle poll? Or you can ask what times are best for people. Because if Rick were to do it, he would be in violation of open meeting. If you were to do it, it won't be. I'm sorry, it's our state legislature, and actually it's, open, honest stuff going on with respect to that. But as much as Rick wants to relieve you of a burden, you cannot bestow that burden upon him. You have to do it.
Yeah,
and
correct.
I'm sorry that you have people disappearing from your staff. I've known you you've been there for 20 years. I mean, You were there when I was there.
26,
Okay.
Jim.
Well, I remember there. I remember when your hair wasn't gray, so I won't
Exactly.
go there. I love the gray hair. So
Thank
anyway,
you.
but no, you can't burden Rick with this. You've got to do it.
So
And
if it's
gotta-
okay, with the board, if I can place it as an agenda item?
no,
for
no, no,
next
no, no.
meeting?
You
No,
should
you
you
can't
should
For the-
because
send out a
we'll never have
request.
100% participation in
No,
this.
you
Okay.
you need to send out a doodle poll saying, these are the times that staff is available to support your committee appropriately, and then ask for committee members to respond accordingly. And if you don't know how to do a doodle poll, give me a call, because I'm
Yeah,
sure
done
Microsoft
it.
Teams has probably its own thing, and I think that's what the city has married itself to right now. The fact that we get to enjoy a Zoom meeting with you is a blessing, because the other meetings I have with the city is through Microsoft Teams, which is frustrating, and Zoom is definitely a better product. So, but nope, that's where you got to go. You can't burden Rick with this. I'm going to be sorry. If I
Well-
wasn't chair of 3 other city committees, I wouldn't be beating you up over this, but no, can't do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks for the advice. So I'll also
Or you can
talk
just
to
tell
people
Michael
in the
to
in the
have
office.
Armory Park moved.
I will also talk to my superiors and see what.
All right,
What
yeah,
is
and
the
they'll
best
tell you
route?
I'm all wet, I hope. So,
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. All right,
But
so
thank
that-
you in advance for your patience and as we go through this transition period.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you stop our recording, please?
yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to ask. Actually,
Let
wait a
me-
minute. Wait.
Yeah.
Before you do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Adjourn.
This meeting is now adjourned. It is 7:17 PM. Thank you all for your participation and have a wonderful evening. Please stop the recording.
Thank you.